Right. So Latchmi Raghunanan has been in the academia first. She started from the Caribbean. She moved to Canada. She went to Europe. She came back to Canada. She has been building something really exciting, something that she will speak in detail about, obviously. But I want to give credit to her in the space. So she has 5 patents that she has worked to get. And also, she is a Ph.D. in material science, which is awesome. And now she's coming into the health tech space, building something for feminine health, women's health. And I would like to introduce Latchmi on stage and give her the stage to talk more about what she's building and how she ended up working in the space. Ladies and gentlemen, Latchmi Raghunanan.
Thank you, Rajesh. So I'm going to share with you today my journey to my startup, like Rajesh said, where we started from academia to industry and the unexpected founder journey. Because when I came to Canada, the last thing I thought was I would be a founder. In fact, before 2024, that wasn't even on my radar. I came to Canada to do my PhD, fully well expecting that I'd be a PhD, an academic, that I would go on to be a professor. It's a definition of success in my culture. And I thrived in the PhD world. I was very successful. I was a mature student, and that transferred over into my success as a PhD student. During my PhD, however, I realized that this career wasn't what I thought. And along the way, I realized that I wasn't going to be an academic. But it took me a long time before I worked up the courage to leave academia behind. And that's my first learning for you. 2 years, I think, is what I spent pursuing postdocs well after my PhD was finished, because that's what you do after you finish your PhD. You do the postdoc struggle, and then you get the ideally tenured faculty position. With tenure positions disappearing across Canada, that dream got less and less plausible. And it took a lot of courage, a lot of sleepless nights and listening. It wasn't only my own expectations I was navigating here on what it meant to be successful. I had to come to terms with the fact that leaving academia behind did not mean that I was a failure. Eventually, I got there. It took me a long 24 months. And so this is the first lesson. When you know that it doesn't advance your future, you walk away. Because you spend time on it doesn't mean it doesn't warrant further committing. Not just because I spent 24 months chasing this dream meant that it had to be the rest of my life when I knew it wasn't my future anymore. And so eventually I found my way in the startup world. And I fell in love with startup life. Again, so I was hired by one of my PhD colleagues, actually, who spun out his startup from his postdoc. And I loved it. I got the opportunity to work with my best friends, brand new company. So I got to own and champion and develop a lot of the processes and development of that company. I wasn't just doing chemistry. I was helping them build a company. My hands were involved in everything. And I loved that. And 2 years in, I was still loving that. And I remember someone asking me, why are you here? You can do so much more. But I had convinced myself that I was absolutely fine being number 2. And for a long time, I convinced myself that I was fine being number 2. I was totally happy. I loved what I was doing, but that number 2. And it took COVID changed the company culture. And what I loved before COVID was no longer the same company coming back from COVID. And that was a turning point that made me realize, again, I didn't have the courage to leave right away. It took me 2 years after that before I walked away. And the turning point here was me turning 40, midlife crisis. So up until this point, I'd come to Canada, left my family behind, pursued my career, put family planning on hold. I was in a long-distance marriage. My own family, my own parents at home. During this time, my dad died. And so I'm building a life here in isolation, chasing a dream. I turned 40, no kids of my own. My husband is back in Trinidad. And I'm suddenly, oh my God, what has all of this been for? What do I have to show? And that was a big, overwhelming moment for me. And so as much as I loved who I was building with, I wasn't building for myself. And I wasn't advancing in my career. And so that was my next turning point. I left that company behind and walked straight into fertility treatment. And here is the other lesson I have for you. It's the opportunity cost. Because as a woman in STEM, doing my Ph.D. and then working in the lab, the thought's always there. When is it time to start my family? But you join a new startup. Your friends, the informal talk around the coffee table is, not yet, give me 2 years, give me another year, it's not the right time. We're racing, wait until after we close. And they can't formally ask you, but there's the expectation. I want to advance my career, I want to build that company with them. And so I put family planning on the back burner, and that was the opportunity cost. But what I didn't know was that as a woman, that opportunity cost wasn't linear, right? I thought that, okay, you turn 40, I know people at 40, go to fertility treatment, you spend the money, it's expensive, but you come away with a baby. I thought that would be my own journey. We spend the money, but we'd get pregnant, we'd have kids. But that wasn't our journey. For women over 40, the likelihood of conceiving falls exponentially off at the age of 35. This is another lesson for you. And so when you take into account your opportunity cost, you're not just looking at this money that you could have earned where you'd reach in your career. It's the opportunities lost. And then I say, so after my own fertility journey in 2023, we did 2 IVF cycles, and our journey, no kids. But at that point, it was a turning point for us, because I'd spent my entire career, sacrificed our own family planning, our own chances of having a family. For what? I needed to make my own journey count for something. I'm a material scientist, and during the fertility treatment processes, the cycles required something like 20 injections in 2 weeks. Now, at the time you're trying to have a baby, that sounds trivial. But when you have to wake up every day and take those injections, it's non-trivial. And I remember complaining about it every single day. But then I'd forget about it, next cycle comes and goes. By the end of the year, there was a passion in me to make all of this worth something. And as a material scientist, I didn't just think that there could be a better way, I knew it. Because I've been developing similar technologies for other people for my entire career. And so that's where Maman was founded. And that's why I say it's our founder's trifecta. I've got the domain expertise, I've got the lived experience and the passion to solve this problem. Unfortunately, it didn't end with a happy ending personally, but that's what it takes, the passion behind starting a company. So this brings me to my next lesson. What's your why? Starting a company, building a company, maintaining and growing a company is no easy task. There's many more bad days than there are good days. Many founders would tell you that the highs are highs and the lows are lows, and that the high days are far and few in between. So you need something that gets you out of bed, a fire behind your butt to keep you going. And for me, that's my founder trifecta. So if you're interested, if the founder journey is something you want to do, then you have to know why you're doing that. It could be because you want to build a billion-dollar company, but that has to be enough to get you out of bed and go in every single day that it gets bad. And that's our journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Latchmi. Now we'll have some questions. We are open. The floor is open. Okay.
Over here. Hi. Beautiful, beautiful story, obviously. I think what I'm curious about is when you think about the cost. I haven't found anything myself, so this is coming from a pure place of curiosity. I find that that cost shows up in many different ways for different people. And sometimes it shows up with sacrifices for family, sometimes it shows up in health, which is a very clear place where it shows up, sleepless nights, health problems. How do you think about that now that you've been through that one cost for yourself, in having to find that out in hindsight rather than proactively when you're going through that? Because you're so excited about what you're building and you're going through that. So I'm curious how you think about that, having had the experience you've had.
Yeah, regret. I live with that regret and I power that into Maman. But I also use that regret at events like these. I'm building publicly and I do lots of forward-facing events because I'm educating everybody else who comes behind me. I'm teaching it. These are the conversations that I never heard. And I'd like other women, other young women in STEM considering the same thing. And it's not just women. Men, couples, family, you're married. You're thinking your girlfriend doesn't want kids. Now, what about 5 years from now? These are the conversations that when I speak about my journey, my regrets shouldn't be yours. And that's what I hope to achieve.
That needs a clap, sorry. That's amazing. Thank you so much. It was so beautiful to hear your story and your vulnerability, and it really touches my heart. I help women, and we need more stories to be told so that we don't repeat the same story over and over. So thank you again. I'm just curious, it's probably obvious, but what is one thing that you would do differently knowing what you know now?
Oh, definitely egg banking. Like I said, age 35, remember that. That's considered geriatric age to have kids. The ideal, it's number of eggs and egg quality, both decline exponentially, so that's a double whammy. The ideal time is unfortunately when we're just starting, we're just out of universities, we don't have money. Go bank your eggs. It will cost a fraction of what it costs later on to do IVF, but you get the best quality eggs and you get way more eggs in your 20s than you do in your 30s. Invest in that. And something, as we're building Maman and growing a company, I hope to be able to afford this one day. But something, I've been thinking about this, that employers this is an employment package opportunity. You're hiring young women in STEM, plan, help them, say, I need you in the lab, I can't afford to have you go on maternity leave, let me help you plan for your future by funding your egg banking processes.
We have time for one more question. Anybody? Anybody? Okay, I think we are all moved by Latchmi's story, and me myself, I am. Thank you so much, Latchmi, for telling your story and also telling both sides of the story.